What's going on, Jets fans? Welcome into the Jets Report. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, we got some great news and we got some bad news for you guys as Jermaine Johnson is back. That's the great news here. He was activated off PUP, so we talk about JJ for the first half of today's show. And also, Alan Lazard, he was seen wearing a sling after the Packers preseason game. And speaking about that game, we're going to be diving into the top PFF grades from the Packers game. A couple of UDFAs really were showing out. Do they have a chance to make the 53-man roster? We'll dive into it all on today's show. But before we do so, if you guys could help us reach 8,000 subs here on YouTube. We just need 136 more of you guys to go down there, hit that subscribe button today. It is a free, easy way to help us out here. And once you guys are subscribed to the channel, just hit me with a Go Jets down below in the comment section so I can give you guys a shout out. But hey, we post a video around your favorite football team every single day, so help us out and subscribe today. All right, so Schefter tweeted this out yesterday, and it was great news for Jets fans as the Jets have activated edge rusher Jermaine Johnson off the active/PUP list. And this is fantastic because obviously we know this Jets defensive line, they got some top-end talent, but they're expecting massive years out of Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald. So this dynamic duo, you spent 2 first-round picks on these guys. You're expecting them to have big-time years. Actually, producer Dylan, one of his bold predictions was both these guys has 10-plus sacks this season. I think that's a solid prediction. I think that should be the benchmark for both these players heading into the next season. Now, Will McDonald in that preseason game versus the Packers, very limited action, but he had a nasty spin move. He put on one of the better right tackles in the league in Zach Tom, was able to force Love to step up in the pocket and resulted in a sack for the Jets defensive line. But also Jermaine Johnson, showed some flashes so far in his NFL career. If both these guys just take that next step, next to Quinnen Williams, next to some of these other young defensive linemen, there's no doubt in my mind that this Jets front seven should be the backbone and the identity of this football team. And it makes sense because when you think about an Aaron Glenn, tough-minded football team, the identity and the backbone should be the front seven. And that starts with the big fellow up front, Quinnen Williams. Now, we didn't see him have any action versus the Green Bay Packers, but we saw Will McDonald out there. He had a couple of splash plays, and we also saw some other defensive tackles like Tufele, Leonard Taylor III have very solid performances. Plus, you pair all that up with the 2 elite linebackers in Sherwood and Quincy Williams. This front seven, it is not going to be an easy opponent for any offense heading into a game versus the Jets any single week this upcoming season. But the 2 young defensive tackles, I do want to show some love to. How about Tufele and Leonard Taylor III versus the Packers? These guys were getting after it, specifically in that second quarter, and they completely changed the script of the game. Specifically that one strip sack that Leonard Taylor had. Tufele fell on it, ended up being a touchdown for the Jets defense, but they're also making other plays. Tufele also had a TFL, had 1.5 sacks, 3 quarterback hits. So both these guys creating pressure from the interior is massive. Now, I do think the one question mark with the Jets defensive line, and this gets a little bit back to Will McDonald and Jermaine Johnson, can they set the edge? Can they stop the run? Now, when you have those 2 athletic linebackers in Sherwood and Quincy, I think they will be able to at a decent of enough level, but Glenn's also talked about this. You got to earn your third down pass rushing snaps. And how do you earn them? You are good against the run on first and second down, especially if you're looking forward to that week 1 game versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. If the Jets could get Aaron Rodgers and that shaky offensive line in the third and long a whole lot of times, we should see those guys get home at a decent enough level week 1. But hey, let's welcome Jermaine Johnson back. Can't wait to see him out there. Doubt we'll see any preseason action from him. Hopefully we'll see him during the joint practices this week versus the New York Giants. But type his jersey number, type those 11s down below. Welcome Jermaine Johnson back to the New York Jets. All right, Rich Cimini, Jets beat reporter for ESPN, gave us some injury news after the game, saying wide receiver Alan Lazard, he is dealing with a right shoulder injury. He will have tests to determine the severity per Aaron Glenn, but he was spotted in a sling after the game. So obviously not good there. And then also Isaiah Davis, Kene Nwangwu, and Jarek Bernard Converse dealing with some injuries, but Glenn said those guys will be just fine. But more here on Alan Lazard. Obviously not good for him because I thought before the first preseason game versus the Packers, this guy was probably a lock to make the team. He ended up taking a pay cut to return to the New York Jets, and I still think he is more likely than not to make the final 53-man roster, but still, this is not good. If he has to miss, a month or 2, they might just put him on PUP, and that could also allow another wide receiver to make the final 53-man roster here later in August. But this Jets wide receiver room, I was actually pretty impressed with them. during the Packers preseason game. Now, Garrett Wilson didn't get a whole lot of action, didn't actually get a target in that game, but they were using him in motion a whole lot around the line of scrimmage, and he was getting a lot of attention. He always had a safety over the top, but that also allowed a guy like Tyler Johnson to have a couple of nice catches. How about a little Andrew Beck, the fullback, had 36 yards on that opening drive for Justin Fields. Arian Smith, he should have had a deep touchdown, but Adrian Martinez outthrew him by about a yard or two, but still, not good that Lazard's missing this time. And, I'll say this. I didn't really think it was going to be too much of a battle at the wide receiver spot to make the 53-man roster between those guys, but it's going to be fun to watch. Like, these last two preseason games are huge for these players. And, if I had to kind of give my, little too far predictions for who's going to make it, I think you got 4 locks. And, obviously the biggest lock, Garrett Wilson, not going anywhere. Same with Josh Reynolds. And I think Tyler Johnson, we can call him a lock now. Even other plays when Lazard was healthy, he was actually in the first string offense over Lazard. So I could see him being wide receiver 3, to start the season. Then obviously Arian Smith, they spent a 4th-round pick. He's, a lock to make the team. And then I'm still going to list Allen Lazard as a probable lock here. Even if that injury, if it's for 2 weeks, he'll still probably make the team. But if this forces him to go on PUP, then, yeah, that opens the door for somebody else, like a Jamaal Pritchett, UDFA, kick return, punt returner. He was out there a whole lot versus the Green Bay Packers. So clearly this coaching staff is trying to get a good look at him. Xavier Gibson wasn't playing because of the injury, so I give him 30% chance. And then, shockingly enough, I'm going to give Malachi Corley just a 10% chance. We didn't really see too much from him against the Packers. He wasn't really out there a whole lot, and I think he's going to end up getting cut. I would honestly be shocked at this point that he ends up making the final 53-man roster, but you guys make the call for me. Will the Jets cut Malachi Corley? Give me a C for cut or give me a K for keep. I think they're going to cut him, and honestly, I think that would be the right decision. This regime has no ties to him. They got more ties of Smith, Tyler Johnson, a bunch of these other guys, Josh Reynolds, that they brought in this offseason. So you guys let me know your thoughts down below. C for cut or K for keep. Now we'll dive into the top PFF grades from the Jets-Packers preseason game here in a second. But if you guys want to get a new New York Jets hoodie, we got a sweet deal for you guys going on right now. Just hit that link, chatsports.com/Jets hoodies. These things are freaking awesome. I could see Aaron Glenn rocking one of these on the sidelines for a game potentially. So I'm going to have that link for you in the comment section and description of today's show. Just click that link, and you guys will get a sweet deal on a New York Jets cutoff hoodie. All right, let's dive into the top PFF grades from week 1 according to PFF. And our guy becoming a fan favorite, I think, here. How about a little Andrew Beck? Got him listed as a fullback, but he was looking like a tight end during that first drive for the New York Jets. They were lining him up all over the field. He was in a little wing T spot, then some traditional fullback, then he was playing some traditional tight end. He was playing all over the field, and he graded out incredibly well. 93.6 overall PFF grade. That was top 10 across the entire NFL from week 1 of the preseason. So got to give him a bunch of love. And also, how about UDFA running back, Donovan Edwards, posted a 90.6 overall PFF grade. He had that unreal run down the left sideline. Obviously was called back because of a holding penalty, but we saw the juice. We saw the vision for Donovan Edwards. And, he honestly surprised me because I don't want to say I thought he was a cooked product at this point because he did have a lot of tread on those tires from his days back at Michigan, but he looked like he had some juice, man, and I think he has got an outside chance to make the final 53-man roster. You also got to give some love to Jamin Davis here. He was playing all over the field, posted another really good grade, 83.3, and then Lazard in very, very limited snaps did post an 83 overall PFF grade. But how about Quentin Skinner? He probably had the highlight of the game, completely mossed a Packers DB on a corner route. It was thrown a little bit behind him. So he had to stop on the dime, rise up, and go make a play. But the 6'4" wide receiver, maybe that's a guy. If he impresses during the final 2 weeks of the preseason, maybe he could jump like a Jamaal Pritchett or a Xavier Gibson to maybe make the final roster for the Jets. But 6 through 10 here, Tyler Johnson getting a 79.4 overall PFF grade. Glenn's been raving about this guy, and I was saying this on a previous show. I don't think he's going to have a season where he's going to go for like 700, 800 yards. But I could see him having a 500, 600-yard season. Maybe he'll have a random game in a primetime spot where it's like, damn, Tyler Johnson had 5 catches for 88 yards and a touchdown. Just keep your eyes out on him. Then also swing tackle Tyler Barron, or edge rusher Tyler Barron had a good game, 76.8. Then swing tackle Samuel Jackson, 76.5. Then how about another sweet name here, Bump Cooper, bump and run. had a couple of nice plays. He had 2 sweet PBUs in the second quarter. He was getting super handsy with those Packers wide receivers, and he was just making plays. So that's a very positive sign. 74.2 overall grade there. And then Sauce Gardner. He would have probably had a 90 overall PFF grade, but they got him for that one pass interference call. I didn't agree with it, but that first possession of the game where it went Sauce Gardner PBU, Sauce Gardner tackle, and then another Sauce Gardner PBU forced the first string Packers offense to go 3 and out in their first possession. That was all because of Sauce. Then he was getting up. He was talking smack, doing a bunch of handshakes with his teammates. Sauce was putting on the cheesehead hat after the game. It feels like he's got his swagger. It feels like he's got his confidence back. And a confident Sauce Gardner might be, again, the top cornerback in the National Football League after this season. But I'll ask you guys this. Who impressed you the most during the Jets game? I'm going to go with the best player on the Jets. I'm going to go with Sauce Gardner. He was unreal in that very limited action. Also, a guy like Donovan Edwards really impressed me as well. But, hey, you guys let me know your thoughts down below. Who impressed you the most during the Jets game? Now, we will be live for the second preseason game versus the New York Giants this Saturday. So make sure you guys are subscribed here to the channel. Appreciate all of you guys watching and all the support on the channel as of late. We'll see you guys next time. As always, go Jets.